We're now going to go back into MACPro. We're taken to our news page like we were previously. We will begin by reviewing the 2015 report as the state point of contact. And to do so, we're going to select Tasks to view our tasks on the upper toolbar. The report ID we were working with previously had an ID ending in 045, not 046. I was just trying to keep you guys on your toes there. We're going to select the task to review and edit the report for health homes quality measures. And just so you know, there is some information in our task list. I did mention this before, and the extra information in there is related to training development. When you log into MACPro, you will not see that as many reports listed for you there. And before we get started, we first need to accept the task. The reason we are accepting this task is because there may be more than one state point of contact. The task will initially go to all appropriate users. Once the task is accepted, the task is removed from the other SPOC task lists. So we're selecting the green Accept button. And you now have the option to select any of the measures that you would like to review. For this training, we're going to select the ABA core set measure. Then we're going to scroll to the bottom of the page. And before we select anything, I want to make a point here. You do have the option right now to select Send for certification. And I want you to be careful not to select this before you're ready. But if you do, there's no need to worry. The state director can return the report to you for your continued review by denying certification. But I wanted to bring this to your attention as it's an easy misclick to make. So we're going to select Go to Selected Measure, which is to the left of that Send for Certification button. And you now have the option to select any of the sections that you would like to review. As the SPOC, we're going to select View All Responses in gray at the top of the page, because as I'll remind you, I am lazy with clicking during this training. And we're going to make a quick change. So we're going to go to the data source section, and we're going to change that our medical records are coming from just EHR rather than both EHR and paper. After reviewing the entirety of the measure, we're going to scroll to the bottom of the page, assuming that we reviewed all of this. And I want to make a point here that every time you click in as the SPOC to a core set measure, you're going to have to indicate again that you would like to validate. It'll automatically go back to not validating. So before leaving this measure, if you want it to be marked as complete, we're going to select Yes. And then we're going to select Go to Admin Screen. You can see the ABA measure is now updated and the status is now complete. So you would continue this process for each core measure. Once your review is complete, you have the option to return the core measure set to the state editor for continued edits. If you do this, the state editor will receive a notification that the report has been returned to them for edits, and they will have a task in their task list when they sign into MACPro. We encourage you to communicate with your team. You can do so using the news page functionality, or you can do so outside of MACPro as well using email. If an SPOC returns a report to the state editor for further edits, it is a good idea to send the state editor a note letting them know what specific changes you would like within the report. Alternatively, the SPOC may send the core measure set to the state director for review and certification. And for this training, we will send the report to the state director for certification by selecting Send for Certification. This returns us to our task list. I'm going to refresh it very quickly just to make sure it caught up to us. And there's no longer a task listed here for us to review the report ending in 045. The state director will receive a notification letting he or she know that there is a report to review and certify in MACPro. They will also have a task listed in their task list when they enter MACPro. So we're going to pause to return to that workflow to review the steps we just completed, and then we're going to come back to the training environment to review the report as the state director. So we're back on our workflow, but this time we're going to focus on the second row, or the state point of contact section. We see that first the SPOC received an email notification that a report is ready for review and logged into MACPro, selecting tasks on the upper toolbar and selected the task to review and edit the report. We accepted the task and began reviewing and editing the core measure set. As we made edits, we ensured that validation was on so that the core set measure would be in the complete status. After reviewing, we selected Send for Certification. Next, the state director reviews the report, so let's return to the training environment to complete the next phase of the workflow. Like when the state point of contact logged in, the state director is also taken to their news page. And the state director has a task listed in the taskbar, as you can see at the top. We're going to select tasks to get started. There are several tasks listed here, and again, these are related to training movement in the system. We're going to select the Review and Certify Report New York Health Homes Quality Measure task for the report that's ready for our review, ending in 045. This takes us to the report admin page, but before we can begin our review, we must first accept the task at the top of the page. Now, unlike the state point of contact and the state editor, the state director does not have the ability to edit the core measure set information. If there are issues with the report, the state director has the option to deny certification. This will return the report to the state point of contact for further review and edits. However, in order to have the option to deny certification, the state director must include a comment in at least one of the measures. So first, let's review a measure as a state director. We're going to choose the Adult Body Mass Index Assessment measure. Again, this is read-only. However, the state director has the ability to add a comment into the measure at the bottom of the page. So we're going to look at some of these sections, see what was entered. And then we're going to scroll to the bottom of the page. And we're going to add a comment in here. We're going to write looks great because they did a good job. And now that we have reviewed the core measure information that was entered, and we've also entered a comment, we're going to return to the admin screen by selecting the option at the top of the page titled Back to Admin Screen. Unlike many of the other pages we have seen, this does save the comment information that you've entered. There is not a save button for you to select prior to continuing. Now that we are back on the admin screen, let's take a moment to point out the information that is available here. The state director may review the report information, such as the annual report ID, report year, extension date, state, and state plan amendment. Additionally, the state director may review the audit information, including who created the report and who last updated the report, along with dates and times for those actions. The state plan amendment associated with the report is listed below the Health Homes disclaimer. And the state director can also review each of the core measures, the utilization measures, and the report documents. At the bottom of the page, the state director has the options to either deny certification or certify and submit the report to CMS. Again, I'd like to remind you that the Deny Certification button is only available if a comment is included in a core set measure. The Certify and Submit to CMS button is always available regardless of comments included. So now we're going to select Certify and Submit Report to CMS. A message pops up asking if we are sure we would like to submit the report to CMS, and we're going to select Yes on the right. This returns us to our task screen. CMS has now received a notification that your report was submitted and it's available for their review. You will also receive a notification letting you know that your report was submitted. Now, this is the end of the state process flow for submitting a Health Homes Quality Measure core set report. And we're going to return to the PowerPoint to review the steps we completed in the state workflow process. We will return back to this training environment to review some more information. So we're back at our trustee workflow, and this time we're going to focus on the third row, which is the state director swim lane. We logged into MACPro as a state director and clicked the Tasks option on the upper toolbar and selected the Review and Certify Report task. We accepted the task and began reviewing the report. We added a note to one of the measures, which activated the option to return the report to the state point of contact. Instead of returning the report or denying certification, we certified and submitted the report to CMS since it was thoroughly completed. This completes the state workflow that is shown on this page. At this point, CMS receives a report to review. If along the way they have questions about the report, they may submit a Seek More Information request, also known as an SMI request. Once CMS's review of the report is complete, they will accept the report to complete the entire workflow in MACPro. And we're going to go back into the training environment to go over what to expect if CMS sends you a Seek More Information request. If this occurs, the state will receive a notification from MACPro indicating that CMS submitted a Seek More Information request, and the state point of contact will receive a task in their task list to respond to the Seek More Information request for the specific report. So now that we're logged in, we're first going to select Tasks on the upper toolbar to go to our task list. And we're going to select the Respond to Seek More Information request for the Health Homes Quality Measure report ending in 046. This is something we put in place prior to the training to stay efficient with our time. So like we have done throughout the training for other tasks, the state point of contact must accept the task to begin. And as I explained a little bit previously, tasks are sent to all individuals with the appropriate role. Once an individual accepts the task, it is removed from the other user's task list. Now this page shows the specifics related to the Seek More Information request. The federal fiscal year for the report is 2013. There are CMS questions to the state listed in a table format. We have one example question in here. If there were files uploaded by CMS, they would be included in the table below. And there is also an area for you to upload documents as well. In order to begin answering CMS's questions, select the question number for the question you would like to begin with. In this case, we're going to start with number 1. And we're going to indicate our state's response. So we're going to provide an example response here. Just, again, we're putting some information here for training purposes. And then we will indicate that we will update the report as a result of the response above. And once we've finished entering this information, we're going to select Save Response in the bottom right. Once you finish responding to the question, which we did select Save, and if CMS had uploaded a file for us to view, it would be included in the table below. In this case, there were no files uploaded. We also have the opportunity to upload a document to the SMI request. So we're going to upload one of our training PDFs to accompany our response by selecting Browse, then going to select one of our blank PDF documents. As you can see, this is slightly different than the last document we uploaded. And our document's currently uploaded. If you wanted to remove it, you could select Remove to the right of the document name. And we need to make sure that we save our documents. We're going to go over here and click Save Documents. Again, we are taken to the Save in Progress screen. This is something that you can get by clicking on Refresh, just to speed up the process a little bit. And we are now finished with our SMI response to CMS. So we're going to send a response by selecting Send Responses to CMS at the bottom of the page. This returns us to our task page. And you will notice, once we get this to catch up with us, that there is no longer a task on the task list to respond to the Seek More Information request for the report ending in 046. So now we're going to review how to update the report in case changes are necessary based off the SMI response. We're going to go to the Actions tab. And we're going to need to uncertify the report in order to have the ability to edit the measure information. As a point of clarification, you will not need to uncertify all reports that are put into the SMI status, only those that require changes to be made. There may be some SMI requests that only require further explanation, not changes. However, other SMI requests may point out discrepancies in the report that need to be corrected. So to begin the process of uncertifying, we're going to select Uncertify Annual Report. Then we're going to enter the package ID information. In this case, New York 2013, HQM 046. And once we enter that, we're going to select Search for Report. Confirm that this is the report that you would like to uncertify. So we double check our information and select Uncertify Report at the bottom of the page. Now there will be a task in our task list to review and edit the report that was just uncertified, and state users in New York will receive a notification that the report has been uncertified. So go to the Tasks option on the upper toolbar to begin the editing process. Before we select our task, let's take a look at the green arrow above the link to the task. Currently, the arrow is pointing towards MACPro, New York. If a task is not yet claimed, the arrow will point towards who received the task, in this case, all appropriate state points of contact. If you had claimed this task, the arrow would be pointing towards me. So let's select the task to review and edit the report we just uncertified. Like we have done with all other tasks, accept the task. And remember, if we went back to the task page, we'd see that the arrow would now be pointing towards me. And we now have the option to update the report and submit to the state director. We also may return the report to the state editor for them to work on the edits. For this demonstration, we're going to make the appropriate edits and submit to the state director. So we're going to edit the first core measure, the ABA measure, by selecting the checkbox next to the measure and going to the bottom of the page and selecting Go to Selected Measure. This process is exactly the same as when we edited it as the state point of contact the first time, but we're going to go through it one more time here. We're going to expand the data source section. And we're going to update the medical records information again from both EHR and paper to just electronic. And again, we did this exact edit the last time, but we're working in a different report. Once we have that, we're going to scroll to the bottom of the page, select Yes for validation, and then we're going to save. As a reminder, we aren't selecting Yes for validation again, even though this was originally validated, because once we jump into the measure, it automatically turns validation off. We have to be sure that our validation is back on, and then we're going to select Go to Admin Screen. We've now updated our adult body mass index measure. We've validated it and it's back in its complete status. We're then going to scroll to the bottom of the page and select Send for Certification. Now the state director process will be the exact same as we reviewed earlier in this training. So in order to be efficient with our time, we will not re-review that process. The state director will need to re-review this report and then resend it to CMS for them to continue their review of your report. Now this ends our in-system demonstration portion of today's training, so we're going to return to the PowerPoint, and there will be an opportunity for any final questions.